Ahoy, wonderful humans. Welcome back to Board Game Dads. My name is Anthony, and these two mateys here can introduce themselves as well.
My name is Eric.
I'm Chris.
All right, so Captain Chris is going to take the pirate thing very seriously this time.
Oh.
We are celebrating International Talk Like a Pirate Day here on our next holiday spotlight. Now, full disclosure, we did have a previous Pirates video as part of the Board Game Dad's summer block party, where Pirates was one of our 7 themes of summer. Chris was on board for that one as well. So you can go back and check that out. But we're talking about all new games on this one. So it's not like we're just, recycling the same old garbage here. We got some fresh new picks for you as we sail out for Pirate Day. Now, before we start, Eric.
Yes.
If you had to take a guess, and Chris, you're going to have the same question, so don't answer yet. What year did International Talk Like a Pirate Day become a thing?
International Talk Like a Pirate Day. I'm going to say post 2000.
Okay.
Maybe, no, I'm going to say 1997. How's that? That's clearly not post 2000, but it's close.
No, that's different. I like it. I like it, though. I like it. I like the range. Captain Chris, what do you think?
I'm thinking about this and I should know the answer. I'm going to guess 1992.
What'd you say, Eric? 97?
Yeah.
All right. So if we're doing prices right as rules, and Eric went over, but it is 95.
Oh.
Now, but Eric, you got a little bit of skin left in the game. Here's the deal. So in 1995 is when these two friends just jokingly kind of made this up themselves. But then they sort of did it every year between them, and I guess they're close friends. And then one day, and this is all, by the way, according to nationaltoday.com, which is where we get a lot of our holiday spotlight inspiration from. So you can read about it a little more on there. But according to them, one day in 2002, they wrote to humor columnist Dave Barry, asking him to be the spokesperson for National Talk Like a Pirate Day. Barry thought it was a funny idea, so he agreed to do it. He wrote a column about it, and then it got, national exposure or whatnot, and then basically just kind of took off from there. So that's where we're at. Thanks to those two jokers for making up a holiday for us to celebrate now.
At least it doesn't celebrate actual piracy. It's just talking like a pirate.
A very good distinction, Eric. I'm glad you brought that up. It's not celebrating all the bad, nasty stuff that we know occurred in this bygone era, but it's more about the putting on a funny accent, I guess. And Chris has a dictionary all about pirate lingo, so he's going to come in randomly with some phrases there that will then get translated.
There's a lot of good ones in this, and as I was just saying pre-show, so everyone knows, this book is like 450 pages long. George Chawandis. I'm sorry, George. George read this. It is a brilliant book. I've had this a long time, and
just how many pages do they have on the word R?
It had 10 pages on the word R. And that's not a joke. They're actually 10 pages.
Yeah.
That's nuts. I didn't know it was such a versatile term, so that's pretty cool.
It gets detailed. That's all I can say.
All right, folks. So as usual, we'll have a couple of quick honorable mentions, and then we'll get into some major picks. Eric, you're going to kick us off here with your first HM, although you might have several because that's how you roll sometimes. We'll see.
I just got one this time.
All right.
It's called Pirates in Extraordinary Adventure. And it's a deck building race set collection kind of game. There's like 3 tracks, and you're playing out different, I guess, sailors, or I think they might actually be called seamen on the cards. And you're playing them out, and they're going to let you move different, or they'll give you like a special power or something. And you have to, you want to try and win at least 2 of the tracks in a 2-player game.
Okay.
But you're moving your pirate on all 3 tracks at the same time, and you're picking up loot and getting pirates and stuff like that. It's a cool game. It's about an hour long or so. And
okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
That's
good.
my honorable mention. What do you got? Who's next?
Chris, what do you got?
That way.
So I for this one, I'm going to go with one that I do not have in my hands yet. And I know Eric has mentioned this in the past, but if I want to be able to mention it too. And that is Dead Reckoning. This was a Kickstarter game. It's a it's kind of a 4x4 swashbuckling game. AEG. It just looks so good. I have high hopes for this one. I can't speak to anything but videos I've seen. So I'm going to just say I am, looking forward to playing this game and getting it to my table, but don't have it in my hands yet, obviously. So I think that one, maybe it's. I mean, late patches are closed, so it's coming in 2022. So it'll be here eventually.
So it hasn't really been affected right now by any of the stuff going on with shipping and things like that. It's still in the early stages of development.
I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, I know they shut down the pledge manager. That's all I can tell you.
Okay,
I can say that much.
Now I will say this about the game. I don't know that much about it, but one of the things that really got me excited, other than the pirate theme, is that they took the game Mystic Veil, which brought out these like kind of invisible cards, which have been used in other games, and they took that and they put it into like this exploration game with pirates. And I'm very excited about like exploration meets, this like deck building, but this not your average deck building, your own created deck building type. And so that's why I got excited about that one.
It definitely cool. It definitely looks unique. So we will see. Hopefully it holds hopefully this isn't Seafall, which I've seen a game that looked really cool on paper before, and then I found out it was Seafall.
Does Seafall count as a pirate game? There's pirates in that game, or no? That's just like an exploration game.
It's exploration legacy. This is different, but Seafall is like the one that everyone got all these people I know got excited about, and then they played it and like, oh yeah, I'll pay $10 for it maybe.
Yeah, it really really fell off big time. Yeah. All right, so my HM here is it's an okay game. It's a little dice chucker that's basically called in this version Pirates versus, I don't know, robots. I think it's one of those things where you can combine other sets, so it's like A versus A, whatever. So we've got robots, ninjas, pirates, and I forget, aliens, maybe. Anyway, it's essentially like a rock, paper, scissors type ranking thing. You roll all your dice, and then your level 2s can destroy your opponent's level 2s or 1s, or if you have 3 of a kind, they get to do something else. Total luck. Not a whole lot of thinking going on. Your move, there is like pretty much an optimal move each turn. It's pretty basic, but quick filler. We actually played it a little earlier this evening just to get it back on the table, but you're not missing much if you don't play it either. So that's my HM.
I should note, Anthony, there is a game called Pirates versus Pirates that is $10 at our local store. And based on looking at it, I think I know why it's $10. But just so you know, it's like a kind of a follow-up to Ninjas versus Ninjas. And apparently, as I looked online about this, Ninjas versus Ninjas was better than Pirates versus Pirates. But just for the record, Pirates are better than Ninjas. Just going to put that out there.
So speaking of that, I was going to say, I don't see how really pirates stand a chance against aliens, ninjas, or robots, unless they're like C-3PO in combat, right? Then they're not going to stand a chance, right?
I just remembered it's not aliens. But it does the next one that it is does not make it any easier for the pirates. It's actually dinosaurs.
Okay, yeah. So pirates versus dinosaurs, like they're just not going to win. No. Right? They're not going to be, I think
the only way I think they would have a chance is if they came in at sea, they had their full on, armada with their cannons and stuff like that. If they were like attacking an island full of dinosaurs from the ocean, maybe they could do enough damage to kind of like take over then. But ninjas, I think, would take them out too. Robots, you never know what kind of robots they are, like you said. All right.
Anyway. Good debate.
Enough analysis of that really, really semi honorable mention game. But on to some major picks here. Now we're really going to get into the theme of the Pirates here. And we're going to start off with Eric's first pick. Eric, what is your first pick for Talk Like a Pirate Day?
So my pick is called Treasure Island, and it was designed by Mark Paquin, something like that. It's 2 to 5 players. It takes about an hour. I guess it also depends on how many players. And it plays for ages 10 and up. And so this is a one versus many game where if you play on the side of the many, it's a semi-cooperative game. And it's a deduction game with some bluffing. And so one player is Long John Silver, and the other players are all playing as pirates trying to find this treasure. So there's a large map out on the board, and then each player has their own individual map where they're going to be using their own markers. Each one has a specific color, and they're going to be crossing out sections on their map that they know based on clues or hints that the treasure is not. And they're going to be moving around. Everybody's going to be drawing on the main map. When they take an action, they're going to be moving and searching. And it comes with a bunch of little tools. It's got like rulers and compasses. It's got, the compass that stands there, and then you draw a circle with it. And it's got the other compass that, has to do with direction. And they're going to be moving around the board searching for his treasure. And so the game basically takes about 17 days in order for Long John Silver to get out of prison and then start going towards the treasure to see if he can catch it or get it himself. Every time I've played, Long John Silver does not escape jail. The treasure is found by one of the pirates before he gets out. Basically, the way it works is each player that takes a turn, it takes 1 day. And so each day that occurs, Long John Silver is going to be giving out hints to the person that just went, and then he's going to be earning stuff like getting a bluff token so that he can lie about certain hints later on. And it's a lot of, you got to figure out who's given or what kind of clues to give out that you're not giving it away. And it's fun.
This sounds really, really interesting. I don't know a lot of games that have this combination of stuff.
No, it's pretty different. I haven't really played anything like that as well.
The thing that stood out to me about this one when I've seen it is you are using like a protractor on a map and stuff. I was always wondering how well that stuff showed. So that was the thing that jumped out to me because it looked really cool from a distance, but like how well was it designed in that way? But the thematics of it, the idea of telling that story of Treasure Island, I just thought was really cool, which put it on a list for me to eventually get, played at my table or someone else's table that I'm visiting.
Yeah, this is it. It is cool when you get to do your searches, and the characters all have like a unique special ability that'll allow them some different way to search, and it really feels like you're searching for treasure. You're getting these clues, and you're moving around. You're searching for treasure. So that's definitely a plus for the game. As far as a negative, the markers are not good. You have to get your own set of markers after like a play. And then those markers might not fit into this little compass here on the board, but it's fun.
It sounds pretty thematic.
Long John Silver himself. Now, I've only played as Long John Silver.
Okay, I was going to ask you.
I've never won. And he seems, it's a little bit difficult for me at least, because you have to, the clues seem like every time you're handed out a clue, you're like, well, that's so easy. Everybody can figure out, just eliminate half the board. And you also have to figure out or remember which clues you're giving to which player and keep all this stuff tracked so that you don't get confused. Well, this person can still search over that. And it can be a little brain burning.
It's like keeping a very elaborate lie together, making sure you're telling each person what they want to hear. That's rough.
Yeah. But the art is cool. The components are cool. And they got this cool little insert where they have sort of like a treasure chest on the side that you put some of the markers and some of the other stuff in. So nice. I like that. I like a nice insert in the game.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a little mention of that in one of my picks as well that I actually totally forgot about until I opened the game recently. So we'll get to that. Chris, you've got a pretty thematic one up first as well, if I remember correctly. What's your first game?
Mine is one that I know I kickstarted because most people probably don't have this. The publisher, I believe, was Mayday Games. Designer Shane Steele, Jared Tinney, and artist was Belidus Bubastis. I believe I pronounced that properly. This is Walk the Plank. And this is, if you look it up on Board Game Geek, you have to look up Walk the Plank Limited Edition because there's a bunch of Walk the Planks. But this is essentially a programmatic game. If Anthony was pointing out to me that I have a bunch of these games in metal tins. Never thought about it, but I do. This is one of those. And this is just a really fun little game to play at the table with, 3 or 4 people. It does need 3 or 4, in my opinion. But as I mentioned, programmatic. You're actually going to have essentially a boat, 3 planks in between, and a monster, as you can see right there, that wants to eat you. Yeah, and that's what you're really viewing in the upper left, that overhand, that overview of that. And the idea behind this game in terms of the story, just because I have to get it out, is you are the worst of the worst in terms of pirates, and when it comes down to it, the team that wins is the one that gets to live. Everyone else is just going to their death. And that is literally the point of the game. But it's programming. So when you look at the cards for this game, they're going to say shove someone left, shove someone right, shove someone on either direction. And that's referring to which side of they are on you. So you're able to impact a person on the left, person on the right, or shove anyone, which obviously you could shove anyone. But a few things about this game that are important, because I think these are make it a little bit different and pretty fun. You've got something like that card on the left that says, I don't want to die. You can't use that 2 times in a row. So once you've used that, the next round, you'd have to put it aside. Because you're only playing so many
cards. Very thematic as well. If you beg for your life once, you're not going to be able to pull it off a second time.
Right. So you got to put that aside. If you also look at the card on the right that's called Charge, which would be the idea that you move your piece forward and that sends one person on that next spot, another spot forward. That one has an X crossed off. You can't play it on certain ones. You can't start with it, as an example, because you're only playing 3 cards. Again, you're programming this in advance at a time. You're playing them down, and then you're revealing them, and you're going around, and then you're revealing, going around. So this is a ton of fun. One of my favorite things is they have extend the plank, but there's also retract the plank. And if you've got a bunch of people all on the last one, hypothetically, you retract the plank, everyone dumps in, and they're all taken out. So it's fun. My only thing about this game, and I think it's important to point out, fun, looks great. The little meeples are I believe, are screen printed. They look fun, and enjoyable game. If you have a kind of team up and you're playing a 3-player game and everyone's teaming up on one, it'll get really boring and overly long, in my opinion, just because you can't have a kind of team up happening in that way. So if the wife and son decide to team up on me, it becomes a really boring game, because then when it gets to them, they haven't got their meeples out very far on the planks. So it extends the game. And I really think the game should take 20 to 25 minutes and no more. And if you play it that way, where people team up, it will extend it. That said, if you play this with 3 or 4 people and everyone is, really thinking about it and playing competitively, it's a blast. So I only mentioned the team up piece because it's happened to me. And then I watched them go back and forth, and it was just a more drawn out game. And I didn't find it as enjoyable, especially because I'm eliminated. There is a note I got to make, by the way. On one of those photos that I shared, there's like a skeleton. So when you are eliminated, you're not out of the game. You take over the ghost pirate who can push people off of the boat. So the people who make their way back to the boat, he at least has the ability to push people off.
I want to be that ghost.
Yeah. So that does help mitigate the issue that I mentioned. So the ghost pirate assists. But it's a fun little game. I mean, if you can get this for inexpensive, I think it's worth having, especially if you've got kids or just people who really like pirate games. It's going to be enjoyable.
Yeah, it looks like a fun one.
I like the artwork. I thought it was the cards look nice. It was, it's cartoony, but like,
yes,
I want to see cartoony pirates. I don't want to see realistic.
There are promos with it too that come with
scurvy-ridden pirates.
I will mention there's promos that come with it that I think lack some explanation. That I had to go to Board Game Geek to make sure I had the full understanding, like some instantaneous cards or some cards that hypothetically you would program with the idea that someone's going to do something to you because you could use it instantly to react to something. So like some of those explanations aren't in the main game, and you need to go to Board Game Geek for it. So again, not a perfect situation when that happens, but still those promo cards, I think there's 5 of them, a lot of fun. And the deck is like, you've got an option of like 13, 14 cards. I mean, it's I forgot the exact numbers, but it's pretty decent size. So a lot of options for your programming options overall, and that's not a bad thing. And again, as I noted, some of them you can't repeat, so that's
Right.
part of a reason that exists.
Cool. Sounds like a fun one. All right, so my first pick here is a game that is just cards. It is also a game that has an extreme amount of versions. I don't really know what the count is. I looked on Board Game Geek, and it was in the 20s or 30s or something like that in terms of different versions. And that is Flux. So obviously, this one specifically is Pirate Flux. If you've never played Flux before, like I said, it is just a card game. The different types of cards are pretty much the same over the different versions of the game. There are some cards that will alter the rules of the game. The basic rules start with you draw a card and play a card, but you might play some rules that are going to change that to something like you draw 3 cards or you have to play all your cards, some random stuff like that. There's also a bunch of cards that are keepers that you play in front of you, build like a little tableau. And then there's other ones that you may want to change the goal of the game. So the goal of the game is always changing in this game, hence the name Flux. But usually it's a goal like you need to have these 2 keepers in front of you and you win. And then there's other cards that are going to like steal keepers and do stuff like that. Very basic gameplay. It's chaotic, which I think lends itself to the theme of pirates. Honestly, you never know what's going to happen. You could have rum and a cannon in front of you, and all of a sudden you've got the scurvy, and now you don't have those items anymore, or something like that. So really weird, fun, chaotic. You can play a game that could last 5 minutes. You could play a game that could last 35 minutes. It all depends on the cards that are going on. It changes constantly. Again, hence the name Flux. Eric, you have this one and Holiday. Anything else for Flux?
Yeah, I have Pirate Flux.
Yeah, that's what I said. This one and
yeah.
Holiday.
And Holiday. No, those are the only 2 because I mean it's Flux.
Yeah.
The game's not great. You play it for the theme. If you want to play it like a quick couple games in a row of something that's got a piratey theme, Pirate Flux. And that's why I got Holiday Flux. Everything else, I don't need that many versions of Flux.
I have 2 versions of Flux: Marvel Flux and Space Flux.
Oh.
So
there are some educational versions of this game. I believe there's like a nature flux and a math flux, I think, actually. So it's a pretty wide range of content for this line for sure.
There's no card in this, and I only ask because there is a fun card in Marvel Flux where you literally, if you're Groot, have the Groot keeper, you have to say I am Groot. There's no like thing that requires you to say arg or something in this one, is there?
I would be surprised if there was.
I think there might be. I think there might be. Yeah, I think so.
It would make sense.
It would definitely make sense.
That's why I wasn't sure. I've never played this version.
Yeah, so that's Flux. A lot of fun. Just again, like I said, chaotic, but something different to get to the table. All right, so we're coming back around again, back over to who let us off here. We're back to Eric.
That would be I,
Captain.
All right, so my last game is a game called Rattle Battle, Grab the Loot by Ignacy Trzewiczek. And this is a 2 to 5 player game. Plays 8 and up. I hesitate to tell you how long it takes. So I'm just not going to tell you. Like it says 45 minutes on a box, so there you go. But this is a dice rolling game with combat, not against each other, but against like non-player ships.
Okay.
And there's going to be a lot of measuring for like short range distance between ships and stuff like that. And also for movement. And it's got some upgrading to do to your ships. Now, right here on this picture, that's your basic. That's what you start off with. The front, the bow and the stern, or port and stern, and then a mast. So the setup for this game, first you have to choose a scenario, and then from that scenario you have to set up the correct adventure cards, and then you have to like take all these cards and set them up, because each adventure card is going to have like 5 different quests on it. So you have to 3 cards for this quest and set up the deck correctly upside down so you can't see what's coming. And then you can start. So everybody that wants to send their ships, now the dice are ships, they give them all to one player just takes them all and drops them in the box. And then once this happens, all the dice that are in the box those are your ships, and you start doing combat. So first you can do some special actions that you might have. Otherwise, you're just going to skip that part. And then every two ships that are close to each other, if they're the kind of ships that are going to fight, they'll fight. And then you just start eliminating ships. And then afterwards, you pay for all the ships, you repair them, and you get some goods. And then you do it again. And then eventually you get to port, which is this right here, where you have your market, you have your tavern, all these different places. You can get sailors, you can get ship parts, and you can get upgrades, get some victory points. And this is the best part of the game, right? Is going here and getting new sailors that'll do something cool, or getting new ship, like special upgrades, like giant cannons or things like that. And you're souping up your ship. And then you go back in and then you battle, and that's pretty much the game.
How many times do you roll the dice?
You're going to drop all the dice at least twice each quest. Sometimes there's something called a crazy adventure where you'll still drop dice, but it'll be something a little bit different, like sort of like a mini game in the thing. And you're going to go through about 5 different quests are going to be on the adventure card, and each one of them is going to have like 3 different somethings. I forget what the actual names of each one is. And it's fun. It's really cool looking, right? The components. Now I have a picture on here of the ship with a whole bunch of different special upgrades on it and everything. And it just looks amazing. The art looks really cool. The cards look really cool. Everything about this looks really cool. It's got a unique theme where you're dropping dice and they're representing your ships. But it's got such a tedious setup. And the rules, like you read the rule book and you think, hey, this is I get this, I understand this, but as soon as you start getting some of these cards and some of these special upgrades and you read them, there's so many like blanks or gaps in the rules where you're like, what? I don't understand, and then you have to look it up, and then it's not specific in the rule book, and then you have to go to Board Game Geek, and nobody asked that question, and then you just have to figure it out. And so that's why I said 45-minute game, with the amount of times that you're going to have to like go back and forth, be like, well, if it does what I think it sounds like it does, that's super powerful. Is it just a super powerful card, or are we reading it wrong? And that's kind of annoying. But like I said,
pretty souped up ship here,
right? This looks awesome. Now, clearly, I didn't make this in the game. I made it afterwards. But like, you can get all these different things, and there's more stuff.
That's cool.
And that's the most fun part of the game. It's just putting more stuff on there. And then when you go out and you're attacking, you can, I got a grappling hook. So you pull this guy closer to you, and then you shoot him with the cannon. And then somebody else takes an action, and then you get another one. Oh, I'm going to do this, and so I'm going to move forward, and then I'm going to attack. And it's really cool like that. But like I said, it's.
And I gotta say, this
takes
is totally
a lot of time to finish through the game.
This is totally off topic, but your playmat here really rocks with this picture.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna comment on that. And the other thing I would note too is that I try not to hold setup against games sometimes, but I do think when you combine setup with frustrating rules that you have to check, that's when you start to. That's where I start to like draw the line.
The tedious setup's really not a big knock against this game, but it's the constant like, all right, you know what? Let's just take this card out of the game. What's the next one? Just take the next card instead. Oh, you got to look that one up too.
That's annoying.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I feel you.
But the game is so different, and it looks so cool, and I love the upgrades that I'll make time for this one. You could probably find this on Amazon for like $10.
I remember seeing this at PAX for like $10.
Yeah, there's not a lot of love for this game. And I understand why, but like, if you can kind of like go through it and maybe like kind of house rule certain things, be like, these are how these things are going to work. This could be an awesome game to play, but you have to play it frequently.
Right.
I will say my choice has a lot in the rule department, but I don't have as much of a complaint on that. I just think it's a game you have to be prepared for. And I think it's fair to say that it can be an epic experience. So this is Tiny Epic Pirates. This came in accidentally. I don't remember ordering it. I think I remember saying that I wasn't doing the next Tiny Epic game because I got burned by the last two after loving zombies and loving Galaxy. I didn't like tactics. I didn't really dig mechs. And I backed this probably because of pirates. I'm glad I did. You're seeing some of the components here in this, pretty photo of some of those nice pieces. The cool dice, I did order those extra dice because they're standard. There's a more standard style, but still looks really cool. I actually would probably use those as opposed to the skull dice because I'm not sure the skull dice roll quite as well. But Tiny Epic Pirates is a pretty big box experience in terms of what's there. You're going to lay out the board, and it's going to feature a fairly large sea, which I'll show you. But they've got these great pieces to it. You see an example of one of the ships. I believe that's the Navy ship. And then you've got this system that is randomized, where you're going to be moving your captain around this board to take actions. Now, the actions you're going to take are ultimately with one goal. You want to bury your 3 pieces of treasure. And once you bury all 3 pieces of treasure, you have won. If everyone buries their treasure on the same turn, it goes into more tiebreakers, such as your legacy. There's actually a legacy card where you're trying to become a more legendary pirate. And if you've played Tiny Epic Galaxies or one of these other ones, you'll be familiar with the fact that you've got a board that's going up in essentially that goes up and then like hangs the left for money. And then you're building up, getting more and more stuff. The board itself is laid out. This is just some of the tiles. It's actually quite full. I believe it's 4x4, 4 across, 4 down. And you can go and take a lot of actions. As you look at this board, you're going to see a few symbols. You're going to see some swords. You're going to see some spots that are actually hideaways. And a few actions you're going to take, but I just want to cover up really quickly because I do think it's important, is you've got a few actions you can take, which is plunder, trade, crew, attack, and search. Now, I can't get into every detail on all of these. That would take a long time. But what I want to point out about this is what's fun about this is moving around the board and the fact that you've got these smaller workers on your ship, your crew, that you're going to be taking off valuable spots. And if you could actually go back, Anthony, to the previous slide, what I think is important to show is the fact that there's the workers who would normally be down on, say, rigging, cannons, or extort. And those are going to give you really these extra benefits. But if I want to move my captain more than one spot, I need to place one of my workers on that spot, one of my crew. And so you're going to have to take actions to put them back. The other thing that happens that I'll mention is the fact that you do get attacked. You go past that where you see the captain right now, you see kind of a red line next to it. When you pass that, the extort action takes place, which means you get money for any people there. Or if the Navy is nearby you, the Navy comes to attack. And that is going to be based on a few things. But the fact is, if a Navy comes near you and attacks you, you can't beat the Navy. If you're attacking merchant ships, it's a little bit different. You roll dice based on your captain cards and your crew that you establish. But I got to tell you, there's a lot going on in this game. But all those actions that you're taking, whether it be trading, which you're going to be carrying goods on these ships. They've got spots for these for the small cubes and trading for hopefully the most valuable. So you'll be traveling across to get those spots. Each of these gold spots, each of these treasure spots cost probably about 13 to bury. And once a spot is taken, essentially, I believe it's taken. I think there's only so many of these. So you want to obviously move to the right spots. And last but not least, there's storms. And the storms screw you over, and storms and Navy will send your people into that repair area. And unfortunately, the only way to get those people back is by moving your captain a little bit farther to get them back on your board or taking the action spot of resting. So there's a lot in this game. This is a game that I would describe, and this is one of the complaints I've heard about Tiny Epic Games, is to say, why isn't this a bigger game? Right. Well, it's Tiny Epic Games. It's not meant to be big table presence. But I'll be honest, this is one of those that I can understand why someone said, because there's so much fun things in this game. I really liked it. I'd argue this is probably falls below Zombies and Galaxies, but it's good. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It falls behind Galaxies and Dinosaurs, and it's kind of tied in my category with Zombies. The Zombies one is really good, but great game. A lot going on. And I will say the rule book, which I have right here, it's not small in pages, but it's not, the writing is smaller. So a lot of rules to go through. I'd say
you need your looking glass to read those rules.
Yeah, I'd say it does have a solo mode. This is the thing I take away from it, which is probably why Zombies edges it out. If you've played Tiny Epic Zombies, there's no like co-op mode or something like this. It's compete or solo. And a lot of the other ones have a solo, like a solo, a co-op, a 2 versus 2, a 1 versus many. Like they really mix up this one straight up, and that's why I say could very well fit into that design of bigger game. But it's a great little game. I like it a bit. Like it quite a bit. Like I say, number 3 or number 4 in the Tiny Epic series for me. So that's pretty decent praise, I could say, because I do like the ones I mentioned quite a bit, especially Galaxies, which is a phenomenal Tiny Epic game.
Yeah, I've only played Tiny Epic. The first one I think was Tiny Epic Kingdoms.
Yes.
It was very early on in my, I guess, overall being into the hobby, so I don't think I really appreciated the game that much, what it was doing. So I don't know. I guess I kind of got a bad taste of it after that. But that has nothing to do with this one or any of the other versions that came out. Although I will say that it sounded like Tiny Epic Tactics was kind of lower on your list. Eric, I feel like that's one that you like a lot, right?
I'm not sure yet. I backed that one because it looked really cool, and then I got it, and I was like, "Oh, I got this Tiny Epic Tactics I can play cooperatively." And then I started looking through the rules, and I was like, "This isn't that tiny, but it's definitely epic." It's like, I don't have the time for this right now, and I put it away, and because I don't want to sound like a moron, but because it's so tiny on the shelf, I don't look there, I don't think of it. So every time we're like, "Let's play a new game that we haven't played yet," we don't look at the Tiny Epic games because
Yeah. Well, that's their shtick, right? So they'd be foolish to abandon it now, I would say.
No, they've been successful. I will say this. I think you'd like this one. It's got a lot. It's got a lot going on, but that's why I can only fit. I hope that anyone watching gets a good sense of the general game, because there's a lot. I could go into detail about every one of those actions, but this is not one of those videos. This is not a how do you play this, right? But those actions are fun, and you do get to fight each other. I should stress that you can fight each other. You can fight merchants to take their stuff, and you don't want to fight the Navy. The Navy wins every time and takes all your people to repair, and you don't want that. So the Navy comes, you got to be careful where you are on the board in relation to the Navy.
Well, it's funny. Go ahead, Eric.
In general, for Tiny Epic games, I think I just don't like a tiny game to be epic. If it's a tiny game, I want it to be small, to maybe medium weight. I don't, I guess I didn't know what I was getting myself in for.
Yeah.
What's funny is my last pick has a lot of the same aspects as Tiny Epic. After I've heard you, Chris, explain it a little bit, so it does have pirate ships and merchant ships and also Navy ships, and all 3 of these ships you're going to be moving around in this game. And this one's called Black Fleet. This is a pretty big board. It's a 6 square board, so definitely a lot of folds in here. And essentially, you're going to be controlling your own pirate ship and merchant ship, and the Navy ships in this game are basically neutral, right? They're going to be controlled by all the players. This is only 3 to 4 players, though, so no solo in this, and no 2-player option, which is a bit of a ding, especially nowadays when 2-player games, at least in my household, tend to get played more often. But that does not take away from the gameplay of this. This game is really, really good. I really like this game. Artwork is great. The gameplay is pretty simple. When it's your turn, you're just going to play one of these cards from your hand, and they all have like 3 or 4 different columns or rows, where it's going to show you how many spaces you can move each of those ships. So you're either going to move there's two different Navy ships, purple and yellow. So you're going to move one of those. You're going to move your pirate ship and move your merchant ship. And again, another similarity, I think, Chris, after hearing you say that, you put goods in these ships. Little
Yep.
cubes go in these, which is pretty cool. The components are really cool. And so you're going to be getting points by delivering goods to certain ports. And then also, if you are able to get one of your pirate ships to attack one of your opponent's merchant ships, you can steal their treasure and then go bury that treasure at one of the spaces that has a hideaway spot to it. And there is attacking as well. The cool thing about this game, though, is that even if your ship does sink, whether it's from a pirate attack or whatever, it's going to essentially respawn on your next turn back at one of these points of the board. So you're never going to lose a ship permanently. It's always going to come back. You might lose some goods, but you're going to get that ship back to be able to do more actions with that. And other than that, you're basically trying to finish this tableau of cards. So it is kind of a race to get to that last 10-point card, which the game gives you an option of playing a 10 or 20-point card as that last one, depending on how long you want to play the game. But the rest of these cards you can unveil at any time if you have that amount of doubloons, and they're going to give you an upgrade of some kind to your ship. Another cool thing about this game is not all the cards are the same, so you're going to deal these out randomly. So, for example, my 8 doubloon card might be trade agreement on this picture, but it's not going to be a trade agreement for somebody else. So you're really getting a lot of different unique powers for your ships and different things you can do. And there's even these other cards called fortune cards, which will let you do other random stuff like switch two ships positions completely, or actually be able to make your ship travel over land. Like a big tidal wave comes and pushes you right over the island. So there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. But it's a lot of fun. I like this game a lot. And I did mention earlier about the insert, and I totally forgot until I recently opened this to take pictures. Look at this insert, guys. The plastic is pretty flimsy, but the skull and crossbones, that's pretty
cool.
legit.
Yeah,
right? Cool. I was like, I'm
and
not
metal
getting rid of this.
coins.
And metal coins, nice metal coins
fun.
that come in that, like a black like sack, so they like jingle around and stuff too. The boats, the ships are pretty big, and like I said, it's pretty cool. You put the cubes in there.
Can you go back a slide?
Yeah, of course.
To the cards. So I was looking at these, and it looks like the cards on top, it doesn't matter which cards you put next to which. It's all got, they'll all match up.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It looks like there's something kind of white on the very bottom on the right and on the left in each one of these cards. That doesn't matter where you put them. They're all going to look like they're supposed to go together. I like that. That's cool.
I like that too. It's a cool detail.
A little bit of extra in there.
Exactly. It's unnecessary, but it's really cool. And a little reminiscent of another pirate game that we did talk about last video, Jamaica, that has cards that do build a panorama. But those cards are really this long, and they take up a lot of table space. You could fit all these cards in front of you and not have a problem.
It's funny too, because you mentioned a lot of the thematics in it, obviously attacking ships, trading goods. But it's not surprising, because in the end, that's going to be in a lot of these pirate games. It does it do it well. And so these all interest me, I think, for that reason, because a lot of the actions in pirate games are just fun, general things to do. You could make and I know there's games out there like this, but you can make a game, for example, if I'd say I want to make a pirate game and I just want it to be a pick up and deliver game, and that's all it's going to be. And all we're doing is pick up and delivery. Boom, you can do it. If you want to make a game about being a merchant in a world infested by pirates, and you're avoiding them, you can take all of that thematics of that rondel, kind of like I had in Tiny Epic Pirates. You mix them all in, and generally you've got a lot of the pieces of a great game potentially. And that's the key thing, is it's all potentially, because there's a lot of pirate games that make me go, oh yeah, not sure about that one. So I just think it's interesting, because it does board game designers almost a favor. Like, okay, here's some fun things to work with.
Yeah, that's true.
The biggest mistake maybe that some people make is try to cram too much of it in into and make it too much. I don't know, but What you described sound interesting to me, and they did sound. There's definitely some similarities there.
Yeah.
From a gameplay perspective.
Yeah, this game is really fun. It does combine a lot of different mechanics, and like I said, it's it can be viewed as very take that, but again, you're never gonna. It's not a player elimination game. You're not even gonna lose the ship. Like, you get your ship gets sunk. It comes back on the next turn, right? So you're gonna get another go at it.
Who brings it back?
So,
Davy Jones?
sure, yeah. All right, folks, we are facing the sunset here, so we've got to get to port before it gets super dark. Eric, anything else you want to add before we?
Yes, I would like
Say
to
goodbye.
point out, because I noticed when you had Black Fleet with the metal coins, Rattle Battle Grab the Loot also has metal coins, which is
Okay.
just something I forgot to mention. But otherwise, happy International Talk Like a Pirate Day.
I had two things. One, last video, I think I mentioned getting the official definition of vast, which is really just stop or hold still. And I never put it in the comments on your video. So here I am saying, okay, that's the definition of vast. Two, I just want to kind of express gratitude because this is the first video I've actually got to record in probably a month. I've been having migraine issues and other stuff. So even on my own channel, I haven't really done anything. And I'm coming back with a bunch of good stuff, but it's been good to get back, record, talk board games because there's been a break there. Partially intentional, and then the migraines made it very unintentional and not fun.
Yeah.
But it's been good. I love pirate games and love games, period. But pirate games are fun. So happy to be here for this. And like I said, please, people, I don't know this author. I am not sponsored, but this book is really cool. If you're interested in like the language of pirates, this is incredible. Pirate Primer. You can probably find that on Amazon, I'm guessing.
Chris gets a bottle of rum for every copy sold. This game.
Yeah. Support your local bookstores. Like, though, if you're looking for books, I'll say that. Like, you support your friendly local game store. So.
But yes, appreciate that. Thanks to Chris and Eric for joining me today. Be sure to check out Chris's channel, Tabletop Express, for some great videos as well. And make sure you go check out other stuff on Board Game Dads. Be sure to like and subscribe. And until then, my name is Anthony.
See ya.
Arr.